Welcome back to House Churches. Hope you're having a really lovely time together. I know that most of us are now gathering in homes, which is really exciting. Blessings to those who are doing that, and also to those who are gathering on Zoom or some other form of technology. This week we're looking at the evangelical stream, or the word-filled life. And there's three aspects to this that I want to talk about that help us understand this part of Jesus' character, this part of the Christian church tradition through the ages on the evangelical stream. And there's the three things to that is there's the written word. So the written word is Scripture. Jesus was immersed in Scripture because he was a rabbi. He would have certainly have memorized the entire Torah, which is what we have as the first 5 books of the Old Testament. But he probably had memorized the entire First Testament, so that includes all of Isaiah, all of the minor prophets, all of those things. He probably knew the Psalms off by heart, etc. as well. So he was immersed in that, and that was why when Satan comes and tempts him, he responds with the word. That's why when he comes, again, we talked about this last week, when he comes in Nazareth and says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he's anointed me to bring good news to the poor," and this is fulfilled in your meeting today, he's reciting Scripture. He's immersed in the written word. So that's the first of the 3 parts of the evangelical stream, the word-filled life. The second part of the word-filled life is actually Jesus himself, the living word. And the reason why this is a center to the evangelical tradition is that we need to know who Jesus is, what Jesus was like, and this is where we root in on this stuff. Jesus went again in that same passage, and we're going to study this passage today, in Luke chapter 4, where he says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me." He knew who he was. When he comes up out of the water, which is also happening in that same chapter in Luke chapter 4, in his baptism, the Father says, "This is my Son." When he goes into the desert, the enemy tempts him and says, "If you are the Son of God." There's this tension right at the beginning of his ministry. Are you the Son of God? We see that play right through Mark's Gospel, for example. He highlights that tension of, if you are, who are you? Who is this guy? Who am I? Who do people say I am? Rooting in the life of Jesus himself is vital, because the living word doesn't give us enough. Our engagement in the evangelical and word-filled life is that we need to know Jesus. We need to know what it was like for him to walk on the streets in the Middle East, to have dust everywhere, to be brought up as a carpenter. We need to be centered on the beautiful image that Paul describes of him, of being the image of the invisible God. He's the best picture of God that we've got, and he's the one that leads us to the Father. So we've got the written word, we've got the living word, but there's a third part to the evangelical stream, and that's the spoken word. What I don't mean there is poetry. What I mean there is the proclamation of the news. So evangelical actually breaks down in Greek to mean about the good news. The euangel is the good news. So actually, this isn't just something that we read about or something that we meet or see in the life of Jesus. It actually is fulfilled as we proclaim it. It's news. It's something to be shared. And so the evangelical stream requires us, and we've seen this in churches through many, many ages, is that the people who are really good at this, they proclaim Jesus. They evangelize, and they proclaim that. And we see that again in Jesus. When Jesus is right there in Nazareth, in that moment in Luke 4, he's proclaiming these things that are happening. It's not just something that he knows. It's not just something that he's memorized and learned, but it's something that he proclaims in that meeting. Sometimes when he proclaims it, it leads to people trying to stone him, or people trying to get rid of him, or people trying to throw things back at him. Eventually, his proclamation of the good news of the kingdom leads to him being crucified on a cross. So that's our call. What does it look like to follow Jesus? It looks like in this part of his life, it looks like us being rooted in Scripture, it looks like us knowing who Jesus is, and it looks like us proclaiming that. Enjoy this week as you have your discussion, and blessings on you all.